Desks, chalkboards, books, and school lunches. All reminders that education is one common experience we all share. For those teachers who taught us to read and write, how did they learn to become educators? Prior to colleges and universities, teacher training was a simplified and informal system.
Anyone with a bit of education had more than others, and therefore they could become the teacher. And so there wasn't a really formal training. If you attended school for a few years, you knew about what the teacher knew. And so then you became the teacher as they moved on. Until up into the 20th century, we had teachers with extremely small amounts of formal preparation. They knew how to read, they knew how to do the arithmetic, and they had some grasp of other subjects. And these one-room schools, of which there were thousands of them in our state alone, may have only had 8 to 10 students in the classroom, and they were all different levels.
A movement to formalize teacher training in the U.S. started in the East in the 1820s. Education reformers like Horace Mann advocated for the need to establish norms for teacher training. Schools quickly sprang up all across the country. Here in Illinois, the first state-funded normal school was established in 1857 at Illinois State University.
That institution in Illinois helped give a focal point to where teachers might get training and where presidents of other colleges and institutions were trained.
Following Illinois State came Southern Illinois at Carbondale, Eastern Illinois at Charleston, Northern Illinois at DeKalb, and Western Illinois at Macomb.
The odd thing is that most of these normal schools ended up in rural areas, and that's because we needed to have a school close by. Within a 75-mile radius, you could find a normal school. You could be trained, and you could get there, in the week and perhaps get home for the weekend.
Cities competed to be the chosen location for these colleges, and Eastern was no exception.
In the archives, we have a telegram that was sent from Springfield on the day that the vote was taken, and it was after 12 ballots, I guess, they finally narrowed it down to Charleston. So it took about 4 years from that point to get the building built, and the school opened in 1899 as Eastern Illinois State Normal School.
Livingston C. Lord was chosen to be the first president to lead the campus, a post he held until 1933. He strived to create an atmosphere of learning both in and out of the classroom. He held strongly to personal ideals of punctuality, neatness, and not smoking in public. Believing education should play a dominant role in a person's life, he remained a lifelong teacher and learner. Students who came to Eastern in the early days could be granted admission even without a high school diploma.
And they would take some preparatory training, and then they might be here 2 or 3, 4 years to get the amount of training they needed to at least begin a career as a teacher. Some of them would go back later and get more education.
Just 1 year after the school opened, Eastern graduated their first class of teachers. But those early classes earned diplomas and not academic degrees.
The first bachelor's degree wasn't awarded until 1922. So it went all those years they gave out diplomas or sort of like teacher certificates, indicating that people had completed certain training programs and were qualified to be teachers in the elementary schools or in some cases the high schools.
In addition to coursework, most normal schools used on-campus model or laboratory schools to help their students apply their knowledge in a real classroom setting.
here at Eastern. We had Blair Hall, and then later we had the laboratory school in Buzzard Hall, and each one of the normal schools in Illinois had those training facilities, and they were replaced over the years, some more than others, some quicker than others, but it gave these budding teachers places to ply their trade before they were truly responsible for everything that was happening in their schools.
What they called critic teachers. That would be like the person who was in charge of the classroom, the experienced teacher. And it's a classroom of third graders, and there's a little boy that's reciting, doing recitation, they called it. And then in the background, there's a group of 4 or 5 normal school students who are observing the class and how the experienced teacher teaches the class, and then they would in turn then take their turn teaching the students. So that's a really evocative picture because it sort of shows the whole purpose of what the school is about.
As the school changed, so did its name, from the original Eastern Illinois State Normal School to Eastern Illinois State Teachers College.
Even though we think of it as a fairly big school now, it has its roots in a small school tradition. And probably everybody knew one another for decades. You come here, and after a few months being here, you'd know everybody, and so it was a real family type situation that the students experienced,
After World War II, the college changed names again, dropping the word teachers, which reflected the addition of other degree offerings. The first master's degree in education was awarded in 1952, and in 1957, the school made a final name change to Eastern Illinois University.
So it really retained the flavor of being an education institution solely for many, many, many decades. And still today, it's one of the main emphases at Eastern is on the education college and training of teachers. I mean, there are many other things here now, but that's still one of the largest departments.
Today, there are 7 undergraduate degrees and 8 graduate degrees offered by EIU's College of Education and Professional Studies. Eastern's history as a teacher's college is still evident today. Blair Hall, which once served as Eastern's first model school, still stands right next to Old Main. Buzzard Hall, a laboratory school up until the 1970s, is the home of the College of Education and Professional Studies. From their first graduating class of 4 students back in 1900, today Eastern awards about 3,000 degrees every year and continues their tradition of training the future educators of tomorrow.